All right, so I've been over this before. You need to be fit when a disaster strikes for, whether it be a smaller disaster or a large scale one where, really shit really hits the fan sort of thing. So being prepared for all those things is a multi-step sort of deal. And here's a list of skills that you're going to need to be able to handle for yourself, or at least be within a group to handle to sustain yourself. And being fit is the best way to handle most of these things because if you're not fit, doing these things is going to slow you down and really take a lot out of you. But if you are more fit, you're going to be able to handle these things and these tasks a little better and smoother, and go on to the next task at hand. And all these things might be need to be done in one day, maybe. Sometimes it might, you'll see the list here in a second, but some of these lists will be needed every single day just to sustain yourself, depending on where you're at. Depends on where you're going. If you're on the move, you have to do it again and again. So let's go over the skills that you want to master now, and if you can't master them all, put yourself in a group that balances each other, right? You can't be an expert at all of these, but just be able to be proficient enough to get the job done at all of these. So um, there's YouTubers that just have hunting um, channels just on hunting. There's other folks that have just have fishing, and then of course there's other repair type YouTubers. All those things are great, and they're all really good at their skills. I'm going to tell you what skills you need to work on and get down the gist of most of them. Where you can do it in yourself. You don't have to be an exact expert in all these things, but I'd be pretty darn proficient. And like I said, if you can't get someone else involved to help you in a group, or prepare to meet up with that sort of person, um, depends on how long the disaster might be. Um, I remember I was just turning 18 when the '03 power out from Michigan to New York was out, and it was I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 or 5 days, but it was starting to get a little bit dicey, and I think we handled it pretty well, but it could have got worse pretty quickly. So let's go to the skills that you need to have ready, and like I said, you don't have to be an expert, but just be enough proficient to handle yourself. So the first one is hunting. Um, these are in no particular order. Hunting obviously is going to be huge because if you can run a snare, you can shoot a bow, you can shoot a gun, you will be able to obtain food. So without protein and food, you're going to start dissipating fast. Um, watch the show alone. The first goal after shelter is finding a protein source to sustain them. They need the calories to burn to move around, but also the protein to keep your body going. I always have a high protein goal throughout the day. Here in my comfy house, and no disaster happening today. But without that, you can't function just as well. So to be able to function, you need that protein to keep going, and obviously other foods in that. But the hunting part is going to get your protein. Hopefully, you can find a deer and go on from there. Next is fishing. So that one's a little nicer for the fact that you can fish by a stream for a long time, and you can go ahead and stockpile a few fish, feed yourself or feed the family. But you can also do it kind of quietly too. So if you are trying to be a little quieter at a certain time, this will help you not get caught if you just run a fishing line quietly. Get yourself a net, get yourself a pole, go fishing with the family sometime this summer, and get used to that again if you haven't been out for a while like myself. So this is on my summer list too because I haven't fished for a while. I want to make sure I can still find the fish and still gut the fish and stuff like that. Um, practice all that stuff now, just in case you need it later. Next, treating water. So you need to have a couple different methods to treat water. Because if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you find water, you don't know if it's good or not. So the life straws are real good. That's a good start. You have to know how to boil the water. That doesn't it kills it. I would boil for at least 1 minute. After that, you still have issues that can still be in that water. So filtering water is a huge skill to have too. I've seen plenty of the one with the layers with the rocks. Um, what's next? I think the sand and the charcoal, and that's going to help you treat water to filter out pathogens and bacteria, so you don't get sick. Um, I'd rather not have any water at all then something that might get me really sick because I'd rather keep looking for good water or filter the water before I just drink something because that water might actually kill you before you get it clean. So I would go ahead and make sure you can treat water, that you're confident in that skill. Have some iodine tablets, whatever, but have a plan for treating water. After 3 days, you're not going to be here if you don't get the skill down. So next is building. So what I mean by that is not going to build a house, obviously, but if you have to build a shelter, if to build a structure enough sound enough to keep something protected or warm or something like that. And that's what goes next. My next one is repairing. Those two go hand in hand, really. So if you can repair something broken, you're going to be good to go. So, imagine a blast happens near you and the window's blown out. Well, you're going to want to secure that hole now, and go ahead and um, block it off, seal it up for weather, for intrusion, for security, and keeping in any sort of heat. So if you have a fireplace going, you're losing that heat if that window is open. So you want to secure it somehow. So you want to keep some scrap wood around, some plywood, some plyboards, um, and some nails and some sort of any sort of adhesives, nails, whatever. And you want to know what you're doing to make sure that those windows are good to go and sealed up for you. Otherwise, like I said, you're gonna have a temperature problem, especially if it's cold. Even in the summer, it does drop down pretty good, and you want to keep that heat to maintain a good body temperature. Otherwise, you're gonna start burning extra calories. Next is cooking. Um, I take this skill lightly because I know how to cook, but it's something that really a lot of people might not be able to do. And obviously building a fire might be part of this, or depends on what your plan might be. But if you are relying on someone else to cook for you, or you rely on your microwave, you might not be able to deal with that in a really bad situation. So, how are you going to cook? Is it going to be over fire? Is it a portable propane um, cooker sort of thing? Whatever it is, have a plan, but also know how to cook. So, how long are you going to cook your meat for? Can you look at a meat and say this is good to go without taking the temperature? Having a temperature gauge is great, but if you don't, you have to be able to visually look at it and say, is this meat fit for me to eat without getting me sick? There's a lot of meat you can eat raw or lightly cooked, but make sure you have that down before you're in a bad situation. Again, I always say if you can't Google it, you might be screwed. So these are things the skills you want to practice now, but also have written down for notes um, later on. So again, paper is going to be key for these sort of things. Next is a forge. So that's one thing I'm probably the worst at in this entire list. There's still one more item to go, but on the entire list, foraging would be my worst one. So I don't know which mushrooms or which plants you can eat in the wild, or berries, something like that, if you're not going to get sick. So foraging can also mean finding an area to barter with, you know, or working around an area that might be empty. You might have a store you can go get something from. If the store, if the whole area is shut down, who knows what sort of scenario you're going to be in. But foraging and bartering are going to be two good things to have. So when you barter, you might have to have a skill you can trade with someone, or just something you can trade back with them. I quit drinking, but I still have some whiskey in the house. I could use that to trade something possibly. Um, I guess if I came across a store and it was empty and like there's no one in the town because everyone fled for whatever reason, I'd grab a free pack of smokes because I could use that to trade someone if I meet someone down the road. I wouldn't grab too much because you have to carry it around, but this is something that's an idea. Next is defend yourself. So that could be a few different things. One, you might have to set up some traps around your location to make sure someone doesn't sneak up on you. Next, a hand-to-hand sort of fight. If you're in a situation where someone wants to fight you for your goods, you got to be ready. So again, that goes back to fitness. You need to be fit for all those things, especially the hunting and fishing, to move around and be ready to have a full day of burning calories and maybe not replacing those calories that well. And you need to be able to defend yourself in that situation. So having calories um, will be necessary. Being fit will be necessary, but learn how to defend yourself with either a fight, to learn like a martial arts maybe or something like that. Learn how to punch well too, because um, if you punch wrong, you break your hand. Well, now you're very useless in all those other things I just mentioned. You're not going to hunt, fish, treat water, build or repair anything, have a hard time cooking, all because you broke your hand. So learn how to throw a punch now, now if you need it later. I always mention like some of those disasters that people are worried about are those large scale things. What about the small scale things? Learn how to defend yourself in a situation where like I mention this example all the time. You're leaving a ball game and there's a civil unrest going on and you need to get to from like 2 blocks to your car. You might have to go through a fight sometimes. I mean, you don't go looking for it by any means. You want to get out of that situation the best you can, but you need to be able to handle yourself if that does arise. Okay. Next is weapons too. You want to make sure you have a perimeter around your location and have a plan if someone comes up on you. Maybe that plan is to retreat, right? If you're by yourself or with a family of a couple of people in your location and you see 50 people roll up on you, well, it might be best to retreat out the back or hide, something like that sort of thing, because that might be overwhelming force that you can't handle. So, um, all those things are going to be necessary. Pick which skill is going to be something you have to work on first. If you're already pretty good at hunting, work on the other ones. If you can build stuff well, work on hunting. All this, all these skills will matter. But if you have a plan with other folks, trade these skills apart with each other to make sure everyone else can help. So, maybe if you can't hunt and you're with someone that can, all right, go out there with them to learn, but also maybe you can carry the deer back for them. Figure out where you're still useful. And again, this all goes back to fitness because if you're not fit, you can't do a lot of these things and you're going to only weigh yourself down. And people aren't going to want to be in your group with you because you might have too many calories you have to burn, but also you just might be that useful. So, hope this helps. Leave a comment for what one you're going to work on most. And always, thanks for subscribing. See ya.